evening, and welcome into another edition of the R&R Sports Report. I'm your host, Randy Isbell, and with me in person.
That's the crazy thing.
Hagen. Robert, how you doing?
It is so awesome to be back in studio. It was nice to drive over here and see so many students walking around the campus, even seeing some of the tennis players coming out from over in Kai's place. I thought about walking over and saying hi to Fong, but I figured he'd probably put us into another match and have to play again.
Anymore. I'm still sore from that match.
Hey, then you should have joined the group that I saw outside over on the main concourse a few minutes ago. They were doing yoga as I was pulling up tonight.
I did yoga last semester. I'm still recovering from that as well. But we'll get into all of that. We are live on the KLCZ 88.9 FM Lewiston right here at the Lewis Clark State College campus. And yes, we are in the same room. We're back in studio. Our summer break is over. And Hoop Fest is canceled. So not everything is back to normal, but we're close.
Yeah, getting there. The sound of popping pads is the best thing. We finally got pads handed out to my guys last Wednesday and finally let them start popping each other Friday. We did some pop drills today. It was awesome. Finally hearing the sound of football is back, and that's just awesome. And then baseball, we're down to the last 30 games, 28 games. So I'm excited,
Yes, absolutely.
Best time of year.
Lots of baseball action. I think the Yankees get started in like 40 minutes.
Who cares?
But luckily, I don't have my second monitor up, so nobody's going to watch me have heart attacks every 5 minutes like we did all summer long.
We got to tell Tate he's got to put it on that back wall. Get us a TV.
We need a couple of TVs.
Couple TVs. Put on the Mariner game. Pull out my Dish Anywhere app, throw it up there, and we can put anything on there.
Before we get into the actual show, both of us had fantasy football drafts.
Oh my God!
This weekend.
Yes.
And I just got a little PSA for people that do drafts, some little do's and don'ts. It is okay to buy a fantasy football magazine to kind of prep your way in there. But if that's the only thing you bring, just stay home.
That's only good. That's only good for like June. If you're going to draft in June, yeah, that's fine.
I did a draft, and I'm not going to bring up names. And if they're listening, I'm trying not to shame you, but you shamed yourself in this draft on Sunday. If you only bring a magazine, you're going to draft people that were hurt after the magazine came out. We had 3 different players who were out for the year that got drafted on Sunday, and it just, I don't know.
So my don't then, the same thing kind of happened. We had our draft on Sunday evening late, and one of the guys texted and he wanted to make sure, what time we're starting. And then he tells me, well, my battery on my phone's only 3%. I'm like, dude, you knew you were drafting today. Make sure you plug your phone in. So then he got mad when J.K. Dobbins dropped to him in the 3rd round, and he had to auto draft and auto money into the pool,
That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. I just had to bring that up before we get started.
Do's and don'ts.
This is the R&R Sports Report, and on tonight's show, we preview the AFC. And if anybody has been watching our show knows both of our favorite teams are in the AFC, so that's going to be interesting to talk about. We pick our 5 games for the real week 1 of the college football season. When week 0 starts with a safety, that's not a real week of football. NASCAR reached their playoffs this week. The PGA has reached their championship. Robert is sad about his Geelong Cats. We'll get to that. I'm sad that the Yankees winning streak has turned into a little bit of a losing streak here the last few days. We asked if the preseason is even necessary. It's going to be really interesting to get your takes, Mr. J.K. Dobbins fan. We have Josie Peters and Carly Bernston of the LCSC volleyball team. They will join us and teach Robert about volleyball before his PA volleyball debut on Friday. But first, let me make sure I turn on the mic first. I always forgot to do that last year.
Turn him up.
There we go. We have the head coach for the Clarkston Bantams. We got Bryson Pye. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we've been trying to get you in here for a long time.
Busy times, and it's football season, so now I finally get to talk football.
Well, before we talk football really quick, we're going to talk a little bit of track.
Oh.
You're also the track coach. I want to throw that out there because the track finished up, had a great season with track. And something that you first championship there at track this year for the boys, correct? Is that right? If I remember right?
No, we did not win the league championship, but we had some league champions and we were. This was the first year where we had several. We always do dual meets,
Right.
And so we had several dual meet victories during that season, which was a big deal for us because usually our track team just has smaller numbers than other teams. So we have 20 boys versus 50, and we snuck out a couple of victories this year, which was a pretty big deal for us. Yeah.
Yeah, mark down here. Robert is not in charge of doing notes.
Well, that's what happens when you try to do them late after teaching all day.
And I'm
stuff.
trying to remember track season. That feels like a whole lifetime ago. It's been a couple months, but man, it feels like a long time ago.
Braxton came in here and asked if we're going to ask him any hard questions.
Yeah, that was
no.
Yeah,
and
that
you
was
threw him for a loop.
yeah, I wasn't ready for that.
Throw them track in there.
Yeah,
But track is kind of a second sport to you. Always has been, as you played when you were a kid
yeah,
and in college, both.
yeah. I did football and track in college, and my college coach really encouraged me to do track, just work on my speed. So that was a thing for me, and learned a lot. But obviously, head football coach, that's my main gig. So.
And with that being said, 2004 graduate of Pomeroy.
Yep.
Football.
Go Pirates.
Quarterback at Pomeroy.
Yep.
And track, also did basketball.
Correct. Yep.
But then you had a little bit of change when you got to college. You went back to University of Puget Sound. What was that change like for you, changing from quarterback to DB?
So my freshman year, I actually played quarterback. I came in, I was the 8th string, and I'll tell this story. I told coach, I said, I want one opportunity in a scrimmage to run the ball. I only want one, and then I want you to move me position. So I got one carry against the first team defense, and I scored a 50-yard touchdown, and coach said, okay, we're not moving you positions yet. I moved all the way up to 3rd string. I spent all summer throwing the ball, thinking I was going to, compete for a 2nd string job. Got back the first day, and they told me I'm moving to defensive back. And so that was kind of a letdown, but at the same time, I ended up playing way more at defensive back. So I was 1 year quarterback and 3 years defensive back.
Now, have you been able to use that story in your own coaching? I'm sure a lot of kids want to play positions that they're not naturally set for.
That's just, there's always going to be an opportunity, and you might not see it as a kid. And even I didn't see it, thinking I didn't think I was going to play on defense. But sometimes coaches are scheming behind the scenes that you're not always aware of, and so there's always opportunities out there if you put in the work. So that was kind of a big thing for me, and I think that's a good lesson for a lot of kids.
Well, Coach, you're starting your 8th season.
Yeah.
You were hired by Wilson and the guys 8 years ago.
Yeah.
It
just seems like yesterday.
Yeah, it was crazy. And the big thing for me is, and I was thinking about this on the drive over, I'm pushing 47 years old, finishing just in my 8th year coaching now.
Same year.
You and I started the same year. And to think about it, you started at Clarkson when you were 28.
Correct.
You coached prior to that at
Wahluke High School in Mattawa, Washington.
And you were 22 when you started there as an assistant coach,
yep.
correct?
Yep. So I coached 1 year at Life Christian Academy right out of college. So I was, I graduated. I coached there for a year. Moved to Wahluke. I was an assistant for 2 years there. And the first coach I worked with got fired. And then the second coach I worked with resigned after that year, and I was like the last man standing on that staff. And so I applied for the head gig, not really knowing what I was getting into, and got hired when I was 25 years old. And I was a head coach there for 3 years, and then I bounced over here.
Yeah, it's great to have him back over here and closer. I know it's a little bit closer to your Pomeroy with family there, living there, and your wife and all that. So it's kind of awesome to be kind of a hometown boy.
Yeah, my dad.
That hometown feeling.
My dad sent me a picture of the Tribune article when Coach Curtis resigned, and said, "Get your application ready." And that was in like November, and I worked on that until March when I got hired. So that was a really big thing for me when that opened up. That was a huge opportunity for me.
It was a huge coaching change at that time too. I mean, we rebuilt from, and I say we. I mean,
you were part of it.
I was part of that as we rebuilt, and it's been crazy to think about. So. Talk a little bit about the 2021 team. It's a little young this year.
Yeah, a little young. So right now we have 7 seniors, and our goal is always to have about 15. So we have 7, and I think we're starting on Friday. We're going to end up starting 5 sophomores on offense and 1 or 2 on defense. I don't know. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, probably the youngest team that I've ever had. As far as just, experience, age, all those things. But I actually feel really good about our sophomore class. I mean, it's not like we're just picking random guys. I mean, these are really quality guys that are earning those starting spots. So we're pretty excited about it. But yeah, very young.
So let people know. Obviously, you guys start on Friday
Yep.
against Moscow.
Yep.
Give the two people listening, hi mom, the people listening at home a couple names to look forward to this season, since there's going to be so many new ones.
Yeah. So new guys. The big one would be Carter Steinwan. So he's going to be our starting quarterback. He played half of a varsity game last year when he was a freshman, and he's coming in. We basically told him after last year, like, hey man, this is your job to lose. And he's really, really done a good job. And we think very highly of Carter, super smart. Hopefully he's going to make a name for himself around the Valley in the next 3 years. And we really think he can. And then we feel really good at running back. We've got 4 guys we actually feel pretty good there. Tiger Carringer is the starter there. He played a bunch last year. He's kind of our senior leader. One name as out of the receivers, we have about 7 guys will rotate, but one guy to look forward to is Landon Taylor. He played some for us last year, but he's really, really hit that next level as far as just being explosive, understanding what he's doing. So, and Carter and Landon played together on JV, and they between them usually had about 200 yards. Landon caught about 200 yards a game from Carter. So they have a good connection too. So that's kind of a couple offensive. And then defensive, really we're led by our 2 senior linebackers, which is Carson Patterson and Tiger Carringer. So that's where our senior core is right there in the center, which is our 2 linebackers. So I could talk about those guys all day, but that's kind of a little highlight to look for on Friday.
And it's weird to see Carter now over the last couple of years, how much he has grown. I mean, when he was a junior high 8th grader throwing the ball for us up there, he was probably about 5 inches shorter and not as stocky. Now he's he's putting in the time in the workout room, and that's a huge thing for the Clarkson Bantam teams, is to have that summer program, weightlifting program.
Yeah, so Carter, I mean, even between when we got done in May or we got done in April, I think he told me he put on about 20 pounds between then and this season. So he's grown. He's about 6'3". He looks really good. And this summer we ran our summer program. It was well attended. We had about 40 to 45 guys in there every day, which was huge for us. And through that process, we just saw a lot of growth, and hopefully we'll continue that. And now that we're allowed to back to do some of those things, which we weren't allowed to do 2 summers ago, we're starting to see a little uptick in some of our size and strength, which is nice.
So that's the crazy thing about coaching high school and then being involved in the middle school stuff as well, is that's the big development time.
See the growth,
for kids. My son just hit 13 and it's already starting to see these crazy changes.
Yep.
It's like, I can't imagine what you're going to look like in 5 years when you're done with high school and stuff. So it's going to be really interesting. So it's there's a lot of changes there, but I got to ask you.
Yeah.
And Robert hated this when I put it on the note. But Robert, one of the coaches for Lincoln, and you help out there. But how many bad habits do you have to fix from your players that get taught by Robert? Did a lot of bad habits you have to fix when they get to the Bantams?
Don't just put me in there. We got a coaching staff of 6 normally.
You're the only one I've met so far. It got so bad he invited me to be a part of the coaching staff. I could teach him how to get water.
That's a skill. That's a skill. How many bad habits? Every kid has a bad habit, and normally it's not necessarily coached. It's just picked up somewhere along the line, and usually it's something that they try and they think works for them,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't know that it's not really gonna work for them, but it's something they've tried and maybe worked once, and they're gonna keep doing it. So no, I mean, we don't ever look at our freshman class and go, oh my gosh, we got to fix everything. We just take them where they are and we just keep getting better. And the progression is huge between junior high and high school. I mean, the stuff they pick up is crazy.
And I think that's a big thing, because when Bryson and I both started at the district, there was coaches that were doing their own things. So they were running their own offense. Okay, you're running your offense. You're running your offense. Here's this offense. And that's the one thing I loved about his interview. And when he came in and we talked about stuff is, hey, it's from the top down. It's from you're a senior all the way down to the 7th grade, and even us starting to instill stuff in the 6th grade and bringing 6th graders up. And we weren't able to do that this year, but
COVID kind of ruined that.
And it's been a great learning part for Clarkson Athletics, and I mean, and it's a little bit different over in Lewiston. I know every one of them run a different offense, and when they get down there to Coach Panacheri, they've got to reteach a little bit, and I think that's the big plus for us is we run pretty well the same look offense, and we just a little different terminology.
Yeah, little tweaks, but you got to make something that works for you guys. But at the same time, it's like, here's our base core system. Here's where we are, and this is where we live. So stay where we live, guys. Don't branch out too far. But there's always, trick plays and fun stuff you could put into. But yeah, that was a big piece. You got to be able to kind of run, especially as long as you're in the same wheelhouse. If you can't go from a wing tee to a spread offense and then back to a wing tee and then back to a spread and think you're going to be successful.
Right.
So that's a big piece of it. Yeah.
So I know as a coach, you don't like to look forward. But we're not going to have you on next week.
Nope.
And we're hoping to have some fun next week, and we will get into that as we get closer because schedules change and everything. But you do have the Lewis and Clarkson game.
Yeah.
Next Friday. We weren't able to have that game last year.
Right.
So are you feeling that itch around you? This is the first time in, what was it, 70-some years that we haven't had a Lewis and Clarkson
Since World War II, I
game?
think.
Yeah.
Wasn't that right?
And something like that. That'd be a question for Denny Grubb. Denny,
I'm hoping to get Denny on, but do you feel like there's an extra bit of anticipation because we didn't get to have that game last year, or is it just same old?
You're probably asking the wrong guy because I'm so focused on Moscow, and I hate to say this because it's really cliche.
Oh yeah.
But we're kind of to the point where it's like, okay, guys, like let's just get through the first game, and then let's move forward to Lewiston. But obviously for our kids, I mean, our kids are already starting to talk about it and like, oh man, Lewiston this year, yeah. Yeah, there's that, and that always kind of looms over the first game or the first two games. But to me, it's just an exciting game, and that's the best atmosphere that our kids will ever get to experience, unless they go to like a big time college. Because I played Division III college, and we never had a game that had the same atmosphere as Battle of the Bridges. So you have to go to kind of a bigger, Idaho, WCU to get some experience. That's going to be more than we get that weekend. So whether we look forward to it or not, it's huge for the kids. I mean, that's an awesome experience, and can't really replicate that one any other way. So,
I just as a fan, I missed it last year.
Yeah, especially us calling games and being there. So real quick, and then we'll get in some rapid fire questions. Tell us how it feels compared to last year. I mean, last year we were shortened season, March to end of February to May. How does it feel finally to have a full season, summer workout, 2021.
Yeah. Well, even so far, it's so different because last year we took our group and we had 10 practices before our first game, and that was it from the last year and a half or whatever. And this year, if you count our 10 summer practices and our 4 7-on-7 opportunities, and we're almost up to 16 practices now. So you're talking, we had 30 already compared to the 10 we had last year before our first game. Last year we just kind of said, okay, we're playing, go after it. This year we feel way more prepared. Even though we're young, it feels like we're more prepared than we were last year. So it's kind of a different feel, but for me, it feels much better.
All right, so we're going to do some rapid fire questions
really
quick, and then we got a little bit of word association, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
So,
have some fun.
Yeah.
Hey, I like it. It's good.
I
It's
think
different than what I'm used to.
I threw this one on here just because, I've coached with you and I know some of the players, but favorite player to coach all time. I mean, we've had a lot of people that have went through with us. Who was one of your favorites to coach of all time?
Now I'm going to say one of my favorites, okay? And the only reason I'm saying one of them is because I have a ton. But I'm here at LCSC and starting second baseman for the LCSC Warriors, AJ Davis. He was a big part of my first 3 years, which were super, super big years for us building this program. He was first team all-league every year. And the cool part about AJ was he was the most humble superstar I think I've ever met.
Even having him on the friend of the show, and he's the same way on the show too. I mean, it's just kind of laid back.
It was like, hey, dude, you're one of the best we've had around here, and not once did he ever act like that he was the hot shot. And so to have a quarterback that's really, really good and also a great leader and humble, that was just a huge thing for me. And so he's one of the top guys. I mean, and it's cool that I get to be at LCSC and he's playing here. So. That's the first one that popped in my head.
All right. How about favorite movie or sports movie?
Oh my gosh, favorite movie? Favorite movie is probably Gladiator. I just have liked that one. Braveheart, that's probably the top two. Sports movie. Gosh, dang. Remember the Titans is always a big one for football season. If I want to get some football in, that'll probably be where I go to.
Have you ever used any of those speeches in the locker room?
I'm not sure I could do some of those speeches. I always think back to the very first speech when he walks in the gym and he's like, is football fun? No, sir, football's not fun. I could never do that. No.
Oh, what's your favorite TV sitcom?
Oh, TV sitcom.
Not even a question.
Hey, if there's a.
This is the question, all right? Since Robert can't read, what TV sitcom family would you have been a part of?
All right.
Oh my gosh, TV sitcom family. I would have loved to have Tim Allen as his dad on Home Improvement. That would have been so fantastic. I would have loved it, and that's probably my favorite sitcom too.
I actually watched that the other night, and I had no idea it was on.
If I flip through the channels and that's on, I usually stop.
That sounds like me and Mash. Favorite word?
Radio-friendly word.
Wow. Favorite word? Gosh. Favorite word? Bamboozled.
I like it.
Right there. I am bamboozled right now.
There you go.
What about your favorite sports team?
WSU Cougars, baby. Go Cougs.
Are you going to be any good this year?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I think that it's really unfair for us to judge Rolovich's first year on COVID. I mean, they're just knowing how it works and with players. I mean, they were rolling true freshmen in there that have been part of that program for 2 weeks. Totally unfair for anybody to say that's a bust or a good hire after that first year. So cautiously optimistic.
All right, we're going to do some word association here. Just give me the first couple words that come to mind when you give us the phrase.
Okay.
Bantam Nation.
Community. Fun. Awesome. Let's go, baby.
Lewiston Bengals.
Boo. Rivalry.
Yeah. Shannon Wilson.
First word that popped in my mind is athletic director, but super fan. It's awesome to have Shannon. He's such a big fan of what we do. It's awesome.
All right. Be honest. Robert Hagan.
Robert Hagan. Gosh, voice of the Bantams. That's kind of where I go with that.
It's very, very true. And then the one that's always hardest for everyone, we do this for every guest we've had on this show, yourself.
Word association?
Word association with Bryson Bye.
Oh, man. Woo. Word associated with Bryson Bye. Right now, tired. But let's go. Sheesh. Coach, teacher, dad, husband. I can go with any of those, but
and I'm sure at this point of the season, that's the exact order it is. Right?
Yeah, well, hopefully it's in a different order, but yeah, that can be scrambled right now. That's why I'm tired, I think.
Yeah. Well, your Clarkson Bantams travel up to Moscow to take on the Moscow Bears Friday at 7 p.m. JV or Frosh is
both. So they'll
JV
combine
Frosh, yeah.
and they'll be at 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock
Yep.
up at Cubs Field up there in Moscow.
Yep.
Are you going?
I am. I will be streaming the game. Pete Williams and myself will be streaming the game on Friday. So
Like
we'll
I said,
kick
voice
off
of the
6
Bantams.
So it has been a pleasure.
Yes.
Finally get you on, as we've been talking for a long time. Tonight, Coach Bryson Bye, the Clarkson Bantams, joining us here live in studio here at KLCZ. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. I was glad to be here. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you and good luck this season.
Thank you.
That is Coach Bryson Bye of the Clarkson Bantams, and you almost have to throw the word also in their mentor. You know that's a big thing.
You don't have to suck up.
No.
He's right here.
The thing about it is, you hear about some of those players, and you talk to some of the players, and they want to be around Coach Bye. They just want to be there, so which is cool. So
That's good. Absolutely.
That is cool.
So yeah, absolutely. Once again, the Clarkson Bantams will be in Moscow Friday at 7 p.m. and we will keep an eye out on to see how the rest of that season goes. Again, Lewiston and Clarkson next week. We're gonna have lots of fun next week getting ready for that.
that'll
Let's
be interesting.
get into some baseball news.
Okay, guys. Thanks, guys.
Well, the home run race is getting ridiculous.
Oh
right?
my God, it's getting really
Vlad
crazy.
Jr. came back yesterday, hit 2 home runs against Baltimore because Baltimore is so bad. Ohtani hit a home run against the Yankees to get up to number 42. The Red Sox have multiple players on the COVID list, but former Red Sox Mookie Betts hits a home run on Mookie Betts' bobblehead night, and it made me think, what is your favorite giveaway? Because
Oh,
baseball
my Lord.
always has these giveaways during the weekends. What's your favorite one that a team will give out?
Listen, there's been two of them that I was part of. I remember going over to an Ichiro bobblehead many years ago. I mean, I'm talking, I want to say early 2000s, somewhere there. But I think for me has to be one that happened up at Spokane Arena for the Chiefs game, and watching them out there skate. They actually gave away a replica of the Spokane Arena. It was cool, and it was huge, and a snowball kind of looking, and so you could tip it over because they do play in the wintertime, and it was huge. I mean, this thing is probably a good 8 inches long and wide, and it was cool. You'd have it, and it was, there were so many of them, and people were there. I think they must have gave close to 10,000 away of them that night. But that's probably the coolest thing I've ever got at one of those things. I mean, we've all been to the ones. All right, here we go. Get a hat. And the hat.
Get a mini bat. That's another big popular.
I do have some mini bats. Yeah. Mini bats. But
I don't have a lot of them because I obviously don't live anywhere near where I can just go for the weekend and go to these giveaways. But I love the bobbleheads. They get so creative with some of them. Obviously, as a Yankee fan, I'm watching most of the Yankee games, and they're promoting the bobblehead nights that are coming down the line, and you get like the Garrett Cole bobbleheads that are like Star Wars themes. Yeah, there you go, Troy Aikman bobblehead. So I think the bobblehead, just because they can get so goofy with it, and that's probably mine. It made me think of it, and I wish I still listen to this podcast as much as I used to, but ESPN's Fantasy Baseball podcast, when they were going 3 times a week, that Friday show, they would always rank their top 3 giveaways for that weekend. And it was always, some of them got really, really clever, especially some of the smaller venue baseball fields. Minor leagues go nuts with that kind of stuff, and they always would bring that up.
So I think one of the cool, and I mean, it was just a T-shirt, but to have, I think my favorite game of all time was a minor league game, and it was outside of New Orleans, and it was the New Orleans Zephyrs. And I know I've told you this story, who I got to see. Sandy Alomar was on a rehab assignment, so was Fernando Tatis Sr., both on a rehab assignment, and it was down there in New Orleans, Kenner area. But to have them, and they were out there, the team was out there throwing T-shirts to everybody in the stands, but to be one row back from right on the dugout, and to be able to talk to Sandy Alomar was just awesome. I mean, to spend a couple minutes with him, it was cool. So, but they were out there, they're just throwing T-shirts. I mean, walking the whole team, they were grabbing stuff. Here you go, we'll throw stuff out, and it was really cool. So
absolutely. So there you go. Another one I wanted to bring up that has happened this week, and it hits close to home as a Yankee fan again, because I don't remember if you remember, as a Mariner fan, so you're not following the Yankees like I am, but a couple years ago, there was a fan that he turned out to be, I think it was a Mets fan, that was at a Yankees-Rays game, and something happened, and the camera caught him perfectly, giving the thumbs down, like a umps or whatever, and the Yankees hooked into that. So every time they did something good, they would turn to their own dugout and give the thumbs down sign, and it just kind of became their motto. The Mets have taken that on a weird twist this week, and because they're getting booed by their own fans, they are now, anytime they do something good, are turning around and giving the thumbs down sign to the fans because they're basically booing them back. They've come out and apologized because obviously this is a terrible PR stunt, but what is this?
That makes absolutely no sense. I mean, why would you do it? I mean, that's about the same as them doing with the whole. You kept sending me the memes of them.
This is nothing like that. And I'm strong or something. I don't know what that is.
You never know what these guys are doing anymore. The craziness that these guys are throwing out is just nuts.
What's more crazy? So every team has their own kind of sign when they get a base hit or they get a double, or whether it's like they point to their eyes, like I'm seeing that, or showing off their muscles. Which one's more annoying? All the teams doing that, or now all these teams that have their home run celebrations, like the Blue Jays, they give you a jacket every time you hit a home run and you come back to the dugout. What is it? The Red Sox, I think, that they put you in the ball cart and push you through. I know the Yankees a couple years created this cardboard fake camera and acted like they were rolling film as you were walking by. Which one is more annoying or cool? I mean, depending on your style.
For me, I like the idea of them putting them in the cart, but I think the funny ones is when the guys have something big, a big homer happen or a milestone, or two in a game.
Mhm.
You look over to the dugout and then the guys are just kind of straight ignoring or laying down. And I watched one the other day that all the guys were kind of laying on each other, napping. They'd all kind of piled up in the one corner and they were all leaning on each other, like sleeping, didn't even see the home run. So
I think with the home run celebrations and going into the dugout and doing the same skit every time, I'm totally fine with celebrating this kind of stuff. I want more attitude in the game. I want more personalities in baseball. I'm totally cool with touchdown celebrations in football. But the difference there is at least the football celebrations are different every time. Like every time the Cowboys, if Shannon's still listening, score a touchdown, they're not doing the bowling pin touchdown celebration. They're changing it up every time. So it always feels weird when, for baseball, every time you hit a home run, it's the exact same celebration. And it's like, it kind of loses its luster.
Well, the one that I think of, and you say that, and you said Dallas, and I'm not going to pick on Shannon too much, but was watching the idea, it was Thanksgiving game a few years ago. Was it Zeke that jumped in the I think it was Zeke that jumped in the red kettle for them, and so it was kind of cool. But at first I was upset seeing them, you're sitting here, and really trying to build up the idea of raising money for the Red Bell and all that, and then all of a sudden you have Zeke Elliott jump into the barrel. So I mean, there's lots of them. You can see the ones too of the guy. It's easy to get lost around here somehow. So I clicked the wrong button there.
I need to change their name.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, some of the celebrations got to change. I mean, they're the same thing all over again. It reminds me of watching WWE with some of the celebrations anymore.
What's wrong with that?
No, but it'll be different.
All right, go ahead and introduce someone.
All right. So tonight we've got our second group of guests. We were training a minute ago. We had Bryson by, as Bryson was in here with us, but we've got a couple of LCSC Warrior athletic volleyball players, Josie Peters and Carly Bernston. Welcome, ladies. Glad to see you guys here tonight.
Thanks for having us.
So we're into the first full week. We had a little road trip down to Arizona. How was that to get on the road?
We've actually had 2 road trips. So the first one we went to Indiana, and we went.
I
forgot about that. I'm done. Have a good night.
They were in Indiana the week
forgot about
before,
Indiana. We had Alicia on, and that's what all I can remember is seeing Alicia and we were talking about Arizona. She was excited she got to go.
Dog trying to get her computer the whole time.
Yes. So, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Indiana.
So Indiana was super fun. We got the chance to really go through our system. We went 4-0. It was just a really fun weekend. Arizona was a lot tougher teams. We ended up going 1-3. We learned a lot of hard lessons and came back with a lot to improve upon. And we're excited to make some changes and go into this week.
And this week you get 2 matchups here, Friday and Saturday. Friday versus Southern Oregon, and then Saturday versus Oregon Tech. How is it? I mean, obviously you just had to do 2 weekends in a row where you were prepping for 4 different opponents, but how is it with volleyball? I mean, we watch football and baseball, and it's always you get the same opponent for a few days. How is it for volleyball where you have a different opponent back-to-back days?
Our assistant coach is great at scouting, so we'll go and watch film and just understand where our offense needs to be and where our defense needs to be, and we'll watch them and watch a little bit of us and just prepare as best as we can. And our coach is really great at creating drills and practices throughout the week that will get us prepped and ready in whatever way we need to be for the upcoming game. So 2 is obviously a lot easier than 4 teams. And we're really excited to kick off our conference and see what we can do.
So let's jump into Josie here. Freshman outside hitter,
Yes.
and you went to school in Sheldon.
Yeah, in Eugene, Oregon. Yeah.
So talk a little bit about what it's like to come to LC from Eugene area.
Yeah, it's very different, but in a good way. I'm about 8 hours away, so it's a lot different. Being on my own, I live in the dorms, so I'm used to. I went to a really big high school, so like coming here, it's like a lot smaller, and I actually like know people's names. And in high school, like I didn't, so it's just I love it here. It's just nice to like know the same faces and know their name, and the professors are super awesome. And I've only been here for a little bit, but I love it here, and it's been a good transition.
Well, let's toot your horn a little bit here. Second team all conference, voted all state twice, first in league, fifth in state in sophomore and junior year.
Mm-hmm.
Also did track and field. What is your favorite? You more volleyball or track? Are you thinking going dual sport here, Elsie?
No, I've always been like volleyball driven. I just kind of did track because I've like grown up with it. My mom did track, and so I was just like always around it. So I did long jump and triple jump for my high school for 4 years, and just for fun. I just did it as another sport. So, but volleyball definitely is my main sport. So.
Well, we tried to tell and we didn't bring that up with Coach Bai a few minutes ago, and we tried to tell him, coaching football. And those kids that want to go, well, after I'm done football, I'm just jumping to baseball. But, try to keep them involved and doing something all the time. Be a 3-sport athlete, be a guy, a lady or a guy that just stays active and competing at a high level. So.
And I would guess doing long jump and triple jump would help you in volleyball.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you brought up your mom, according to your profile on lcwarriors.com. She was on the Olympic team.
Yeah.
What year? What was her event?
The 3000. I cannot tell you what year, but I probably should have studied that. But she did the 3000, and then she ran at Montana State for a year, and then transferred to Oregon, University of Oregon, and she then was on the Olympic team. Then my dad played football at Montana State, so that's how that happened. Yeah.
Awesome, Carly. Now you're junior.
Yes.
6'1". Holy cow, you're taller than I am. I fell short when she walked in. I already knew that. Appeared in all 14 matches last season. 102 kills. Second on the team with 37 blocks.
Do you have any idea what you're saying?
No, I'm just like, I'm worried. I'm getting more scared about that.
So just so you guys know, he's going to be your PA on a couple games this year, and he's never done it before. Already. So we're going to need you guys to teach him.
Listen, I've done PA. I like Coach Bai said, I'm the voice of the Bantams. That was his word association. But I don't do volleyball because I'm too busy with football and wrestling and basketball. This is going to be a new thing for me. I'm a little nervous. So what's it like to play that outside, getting a kill all the time? I mean, you watch some of the girls and how they get up. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's been super fun. Last year was a COVID year, and it was really rough. I definitely loved my freshman year a lot more than my sophomore year. But we've been working on our systems a lot. Our head coach is really awesome about pushing a fast offense, which makes it a lot easier to get kills. And our setters have really worked hard this year, so it's been really fun.
Cool. You went to Lone Peak High School in Utah, so we're not 100% where that's at.
It's about 45 minutes south of Salt Lake, so it's northern Utah.
And it takes an hour just to get around Salt Lake. If you ever drive in that area, it's crazy to think about. Your team was nationally ranked 2017, 2018, 5A champs in 2016, 6A champs in 17, 18. Sounds like you come from a school that is very into their sports.
Yeah, so my senior year, we won 10 state championships, my senior class did. It's a very, sport-driven high school. We kind of grow up. You play with the same girls since you're, 12, so you really grow as a team together. So I had a lot of fun in high school. It was really fun to win some championships and put together some good teams.
Was it a culture shock then coming up to LC and playing with a whole different group?
No, because I clicked with the team so well. Coach is huge on like our culture and creating a family. And when I came on my visit, something that I really looked for when I was recruiting, I wanted a team that I could click with and that was a family. And I found that really easily here. And our freshman class was super close from the beginning, so that helped as well. I obviously still miss my girls. I FaceTime them weekly. They're doing great in their colleges. I think almost every single one of them went and played somewhere D1 or some college volleyball. So we call each other frequently, but I have my family there and I have my family here, so I'm grateful for that.
So again, back to tooting your guys' horns. The things that I noticed on your profile, just ridiculously smart, apparently by everything I read on here. A high honor roll in National Honor Society. You had a 4.0 for 7 years. I apologize. It took you 7 years to get through high school. I guess is that what that meant?
I think the last time I got an A- was 5th grade, and I had a really hard time with it. I'm
You
like,
just said never again.
yeah, my sister is crazy genius. Like, can wait till the last minute and do an assignment and get an A. And I'm very competitive with her, and it may take me double the amount of time, but I wanted to beat her out. So my grades in the beginning, a lot of it came from wanting to impress my parents more than my sister impressed them.
So let's talk a little bit, and I know Randy didn't put this in the notes or anything, but let's talk about, you guys are the first guests back in from, as we're back in the studio tonight, and so the first athletes back in. We talked a lot about with the other athletes with the protocols. What kind of protocols are you guys going through to be ready to play?
We're required to get like COVID tested weekly. We have to wear masks like in classes and just like in the facilities unless you're like playing. So like when we have our game this weekend, we're gonna have to like, if you're not playing, like on the bench, coaches wear masks, all the players that are on the bench wear masks, and then when you're playing you can have them off. That's about all our protocols. I mean, we kind of just stay in our bubble pretty much, not really go out of it because yeah, it's COVID. We have to be careful about it, but that's about it.
So bringing up COVID and how last year was a little different, and especially at the beginning of the season where you couldn't really have fans, and it kind of changed a little bit, at least by the end of the season. How does it feel being able to have your first home game on Friday and be able to have fans this year?
It's super exciting. I don't think we realized how big of a difference fans make until we lost them. It's really hard to have like this super high energy point, and then all you hear is your team cheering, then the gym goes silent because there's no one else there. So we're super excited. Playing in a home, like at your home crowd, is like the funnest feeling in the world. It's good to see familiar faces in the crowd, and we're just looking forward to putting on a show.
Yeah.
So who else on the team should we be looking out for this year besides you two ladies?
We have an international. Her name is Grecia Ung. She got a crazy high topspin. She's a freshman, and she's got a big, powerful arm. We have another transfer, Cassidy Nelson. She's an outside from UNLV. She just transferred here. That girl has got some firepower behind her. Really excited for her. And I would definitely say Kenzie Dean. That girl has improved a lot since freshman year. Really excited to have her in the back row and to really lead our defense on and off the court.
So what is something in your guys' games that you worked up the most on in the off season? So thinking about your own game, what did you work on the most?
For me, the way I was taught to hit is completely different than how my coach wants me to hit. I was sick for most of summer, so I had to do like a lot of reps on my own outside of the gym. So I really worked on how I approach and how I swing at the ball and just my opening up my shots. That was something that my coach and I really did not see eye to eye on, and I just had to buckle down and commit to the system. It took me a while to understand it. I think that's why I had such a hard time. So I really wanted to commit this summer to changing that up.
I would say definitely like my serving. We're super big on serving aggressively and like floating the ball. And I'm just like used to just kind of getting back there and just kind of serving. So like I've been really focusing on like taking my time and like really working on what like coach wants me to do for our serve, because like I feel like every school is different. So but definitely he's been great helping me, and It's getting better.
All right, so I brought up Robert's going to do PA for the first time with volleyball this year. Any tips or ideas for him? What do you want him yelling when you guys want to point?
Go Warriors!
Well, that's easy enough. As long as I don't
See,
stumble
it's not
and
going
do
to be
something.
that hard.
Just get excited, you know. I think we're all as excited to have like a full fan of like real games instead of like last year. So I think you'll do great. Just do your best and
I just,
get the crowd going.
I'm gonna put in Bantam Nation in my head and think about Golden Throne.
Yeah.
As long as I have that, then I'm
Golden Throne every single night.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's fire. We're gonna throw some rapid fire questions to you.
Okay.
Trust me, it's not gonna be that bad. All right, so we'll ask one question, we'll bounce it off both of you, and then go from there. So I'm going real easy. Favorite movie?
Just go with it.
Grown ups.
My wife watched that one the other night. Grown Ups. What is it about Grown Ups?
I love
I don't know.
that.
I'm not a grown up, so I don't know.
You still haven't grown up
No.
yet. What is your favorite song or genre of music?
It's a song called Straight Jacket by Quinn, and I would say like pop and R&B.
I'd say I don't really have a favorite song, but like I love country music. Yeah. Especially Luke Bryan and like Jason Aldean.
I'm going to see him in 2 weeks.
Really?
Yep. He's
That's
in
exciting.
Spokane in a couple weeks. So
Luke Bryan or Jason?
Jason Aldean.
I've seen him. He's
I don't think I've
really
missed.
good.
I haven't missed a show in Spokane that he's been to. So I've
Yeah.
been
Is it
every
like
one.
a country music festival kind of
No,
thing, or is it just him?
Just him
Oh.
coming out. Yeah.
That's
So,
exciting.
yeah, I'm excited. Yeah. Get to see him all the time.
All right, the
No,
second time you can
I'm
ask
gonna
him,
let
you're
you
not
ask
going to do
him.
this 'cause
No.
you
I
butchered
butchered
it
it.
earlier.
Yeah.
All right. What TV sitcom family would you want to be a part of?
I don't know if this counts, but just like a TV.
Like any TV
Hey, this
family.
is you.
Yeah, any
Okay.
Whatever
family.
you-
Friends. Or The Office, even though it's not really a family, but it would just
I
be
think they
so
pick her
fun
like a family. I
to
think
be
that's
part of
yeah.
it. I don't know, because they're so monotone. I don't know. It just
Also,
be
I don't
fun.
know. Do TV sitcom families even exist anymore? Was that just our generation, and now it's everyone tries to make a show like Friends?
I think so. Probably. All right. Biggest pet peeve.
When people walk slow.
When
She's,
people-
I can see her pushing a cart. And go,
Oh, she walks so
move to the
fast.
right. Move to the right.
Robert, will you turn around and if you've noticed the back of his head when you're getting mad?
Favorite word.
Radio friendly, please.
I don't know.
I'm so glad I found a website with these
Yeehaw.
goofy
Yeehaw.
questions.
Yeehaw.
I would say probably. Well, this is more than one word.
That's
Is
okay.
that okay?
Hmm?
There's like just a saying my dad and I say, like grind no stop. So that's probably like my favorite word. You know,
Yeah.
or
I like
saying.
This might be a little tough for you because you've only been here for a week and a half. But favorite teacher here at LC?
Professor Martin.
I don't know. Probably my math teacher. I don't know her last name, but Rebecca. I don't know her last name.
I also like Terry Rest. I love her. She's the best.
All right. Favorite sports team. Could be college. Could be.
I gotta
NBA.
say, I'm from Oregon, so University of Oregon. Probably.
All right, folks. That's been the show tonight. Pete Williams does the same thing. So.
I'm a Raiders fan. Hate me for it, but there you go.
There's worse. There's worse things than Raiders fans. They're Seahawks fans, all right?
Yeah, I was just to say. So I won't tell her that I'm a Ravens fan, and we'll be playing them week 1 in Las Vegas. All right, we're gonna throw out some word association. Okay, so first thing we throw out to you, a person, just tell us what you think of that person in 1 or 2 words. So, all right, go for it.
All right, Jada wins.
Baller.
Yeah, literally, that girl got like hops. Like she's crazy. She's awesome.
You're gonna say her name a lot. this week.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah,
will say her
you
name
will.
a ton.
Wins. Okay, Jada wins.
How about Kenzie Clower?
Goofy.
One word.
Yeah.
I'd say like silly.
She must be the team clown. All right.
Cassidy Nelson.
Ooh, firecracker.
And driven. She's super driven.
Ashley Bachman.
Ooh, special. In a very, very good way.
I don't know.
Like that kid will work and
Yeah.
fight for everything she's given and just has gratitude no matter what. Like she's one of a
She was
kind.
the one that was supposed to be here and then looked up our show and went, no.
Yeah, I'm replacing her. No, that girl, she works so hard. Like, hard worker. Very.
All right, how about Coach Sean? He's not listening. So
I'll say. He's like awesome. Like, I've never really had a coach that like cares about your like person, like your mental health or like your personal stuff. And it's just nice that he like checks in on you and just cares about you as a person and a player. So it's super special to have.
I would say caring as well. Sometimes I think he cares a little too much about everything we're going through, but I appreciate it a ton. He cares about us deeply.
All right,
Sure.
and then the toughest ones. I want you to do a word associations for yourself. Whoever wants to go first.
For me, I would say competitive.
I'd say,
For Josie, I would say sweetheart.
yeah, I'm way too nice sometimes. Yeah. For Carly, I would say, like, confident in a good way and, like, driven. She's, like, our team leader and leads us. And it's a great role model.
Very cool. All right, don't forget, first home games this weekend, Friday at 7 p.m. versus Southern Oregon, and then Saturday at 5 p.m. versus Oregon Tech. Robert will be there. Are you both days?
Just Saturday. I'll be up in Moscow on
That's
Friday
right.
night.
So Saturday he'll be there being your PA guy. I'll be there doing play-by-play for both games right here on KLCZ 88.9. So it's going to be a lot of fun watching you girls out there and finally being able to hear the crowd. I know I
Heck
was able to
yeah.
do one game last year and they let like 40 people. And I was like, this is not the experience I was ready for. So I'm excited. And I hope everyone
Heck
shows up.
Yes.
Obviously, be safe. Wear your mask. To be as you have to be louder now because you have to be loud through your mask this weekend.
Definitely.
And let the girls hear you. So thank you guys so much for hanging out.
Thanks
for a
for
little bit.
having us.
Thank you.
Sorry for confusing you on which one to show up in because we have 2 radio doors. But
No
thank
worries.
you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, guys.
All right, that is Josie Peters and Carly Bernson. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. And don't forget, they are here Friday at 7 o'clock against Southern Oregon and Saturday at 5 p.m. versus Oregon Tech. So thank you for those ladies. You know, I'm just excited to see sports going to be here at LC. As we had talked so many times that it's tough to watch and be part of these sports with no fans. And I think that's the biggest thing I'm looking forward to. Not only just doing football on Friday night, but also being here Saturday and seeing people in this awesome activity center.
Yes,
You know?
it's just last year was so weird, and I know this year we're not back to full normal yet, but at least it feels like we're starting to get there. As long as we keep going through the motions and doing the things we're supposed to, hopefully someday it'll be back to full normal. But it's just at least a little bit of normal is just going to be so cool. And I thought about this today. I don't think with the way the schedule worked out and us having 90 sports happening all at once, I think that was the first time we've actually had a volleyball player be able to be on the show.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think that we finally completed the circle here at LC as far as sports go. I think we've now represented every sport. We're going to do better about it this year because everything has been able to be spread out, so it's going to be easier. But I think that was the first time we've been able to get volleyball on the show.
Yeah.
I'm very, very excited to see how this season
We did have golf, right? We did have
We had
golf. Yep. So
Yeah, Lauren, right?
Lauren, yeah.
Lauren was on. So thank you so much to those girls as well as Coach Five for hanging out and basically filling up our whole first hour.
The first hour's gone, and we hardly talked any MLB.
We won't now.
Yeah.
Your local sports roundup, just to kind of give you a little bit more of a flavor of the local area. It was very nice that Idaho started their fall sports last week, and Washington waited a week. As somebody that's new
Always
to the
do.
Tribune, it was nice to ease my way in. I'm going to be going there at the moment we're done with the show, and there's a lot of volleyball and soccer going on, so I'll be busy tonight. But Lewiston did defeat Kuna 49-31. Jared Chelenik had a 105-yard interception return for a touchdown. He's also up for a Prep Athlete of the Week, I believe.
And that's Jared Kelnick.
Kelnick. No,
Jelnick.
Jelnick. So it's kind of like Kelnick from the Mariners. Okay.
Right.
So sorry, Jared, for butchering your name. It happens a lot here. Jason McArthur ran for 4 touchdowns and 127 yards. He also threw for 13 of 16 for 136. Chris Hepburn, who I think we've talked about for the last 37 years.
Yeah.
And
To see that kid grow up, you know, I mean.
he had 10 carries for 166 yards and a touchdown. They will be taking on Madison at 3 p.m. on a Saturday. So a little Saturday high school football is pretty cool. Again, Clarkson opens their season at Moscow at 7 p.m. on Friday. On the college side, Idaho will host Simon Fraser at 1 p.m. on Saturday, and the WSU Cougars will start their season against my sister's old alma mater, Utah State, at 8 p.m. on Saturday. So get a nap in, Robert, if you want to check out that game after you do the volleyball game.
There is no nap. There is no nap time because by the time we finish at 5 o'clock, we start at 5.
You take your nap at 1 to 3 and then get ready for volleyball. It'll work out. The LCSC calendar, cross country actually will start their season up on Friday at the Northwest Clash in Cheney. And once again, we just want to reiterate volleyball home opener this weekend, Friday versus number 21 Southern Oregon at 7 p.m. and then Saturday versus Oregon Tech at 5 p.m. Let's get into our college pick'em this week. Last week, I crushed Robert.
You didn't crush me. Come on.
It's so nice that we're getting into pick'ems. I feel like I'm better than that than when we do our draft of teams, and I always get hosed with some of the worst teams that bring me down. Now we're getting into pick'ems. I feel better about myself. Former Beat the Pro guy on the Tribune, Robert Hagan over here.
Listen, I won it last year when I wasn't part of it, and then I ended up turning a couple in last year and ended up winning one of them.
Right.
So.
But I did go 4-1 last week. You went 3-2. So I, honestly, for a week 0, I'm happy with both of our results. But we spread it out this week because we have a lot of games on Thursday. It's going to be great. We wanted to bring in some Friday, and then Saturday there was so many games. Mm-hmm. We had to pick 5. So let's start Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Number 4, Ohio State's a 14-point favorite at Minnesota. I was a little worried of the starting on the road, but I don't believe in Minnesota. I don't think 14 will be enough, so I'm going to take the Buckeyes.
Yeah, I agree. I like Minnesota Gophers, but Golden Gophers, that is. But I think easy enough Ohio State's going to cover the 14.
On Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, number 10, North Carolina is only a 5.5-point favorite at Virginia Tech. Is that enough points?
I don't think so. That's why I'm going to take Virginia Tech. I think it's going to be a field goal game here. As much as everybody keeps talking about North Carolina and where they're ranked and where they finished last year, I think they're going to be a great team. I just don't think it's going to be that 5.5.
I think Tar Heels are going to be a favorite to finish second in that conference behind Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to be a good statement win for them. I think they do cover the 5.5 on the road. I'm going to take North Carolina. So our first difference of the week, Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, number 19 Penn State at number 12 Wisconsin. Wisconsin giving up the 5 points, and I think they cover that at home.
Oh, easy. They'll cover that and then some. I think it'll be probably double digits. I was thinking 10 points, so 27-17.
Saturday at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time, number 1 Alabama is giving up 20 points to number 14 Miami. 20 seems like a lot.
Well, it is. You know, we got 3 touchdowns, so I think they do it. I mean, until somebody really steps up and beats the tar out of Alabama, I think it's going to be Alabama Clemson every time. I think almost 100%.
Yeah, and we'll get to our playoffs next week as our 4 teams that we're going to pick in that. It could change if Alabama gets upset here or the next game goes differently. I think 20 is too much for an opener.
Right.
There's a lot of questions going into the air. Obviously, there's no preseason in college football. So I think Miami can keep it within 20. I think it's going to look like Alabama just blows them out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was never really a game. But by the end, it'll end up being like 14, 17 points. So I will take the Hurricanes there. Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time, number 5 Georgia at number 3 Clemson. Clemson only giving up the 3 points, so I'm taking Clemson.
I wondered if you were going to pick this game. I really did. I thought about it, and Georgia is one of those teams that I follow just because that's where my dad's from. Part of my family, I'll follow the Bulldogs. I really thought that was going to be one of the big games of the weekend. I think Clemson easily covers the 3, so give me Clemson. And we need to mention we're not condoning you going out and gambling.
Yes.
We are just giving you the odds of what they were this morning. We're into the point favorites. Give and take of the points.
Yeah, I think with college football especially, because then we can pick games that feel like they're one-sided games, and then it will still be really interesting. Can this team really beat this other team by 40? I think it adds a little element to our pick 'em.
Yeah.
But yes, we're not condoning gambling by any means, but I do need a point total for Georgia Clemson just as a weekly tiebreaker because we have only 2 games different, so there's a good chance we do tie this week. I'm going to say 54.
Dude, it's like you read my mind or something.
That's correct.
I'm going to do 47. Give me 47.
I read your mind and then you pick something.
I actually thought 54. Seriously, I don't know what it was,
That's why
but
I threw it
54.
out.
But I thought that's what it is. And right now, and I want your opinion.
Yep.
And I kind of agree with Coach Bai there a few minutes ago. He talked about his WSU Cougars and Wolovich and him not getting a fair shake. I mean, with COVID and all that. The line right now is WSU 17 for Saturday at 8 o'clock. WSU covers over Utah State.
Again, it's week 1. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I hope so. Yeah, but
I had to pull it up to look just to see. I mean, that was one we didn't talk about in there earlier. But
and week 1 is so tough because we haven't seen anything. We just what we've heard about practice. So we'll get there. You are listening to the R&R Sports Report right here on KLCZ 88.9 FM on the Lewis Clark State College campus here in Lewiston. Also, hopefully you're listening to us on the R&R Sports Report Facebook page or YouTube channel. And if you're listening on the radio or on Facebook and YouTube and you're not following us on either of those 2 platforms, please do. We do power rankings for baseball every Monday. They're out right now. Football power rankings will start next week as we get into the season because I want Robert Hagan to do even more work.
More work on my Sunday. Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. Let's get into our football half hour. That's more than a half hour. But we still have more baseball to talk about because our guests were too good and then kind of had to push things. So we'll see how things go. Again, this week we're doing the AFC. Next week we're going to do the postseason for both the NFL and college football. We'll give out our awards. Who's going to win the Heisman? Who's going to win the MVP? Coach of the Year? All those things. And then we're going to do our team draft that we did in basketball and baseball, which I owe Robert a lunch, and I'll owe him a second lunch when baseball's done because the Baltimore Orioles and the Arizona Diamondbacks are so bad. And I got stuck with both of them.
I'm just good. Say it.
You were good at basketball. You winning all 3 coin flips in baseball put
That
me
was
at a
sick.
very
That
bad
was sick.
disadvantage. But that's okay. We'll get those paid off soon enough. Let's get into the football news first. And one thing that was kind of interesting to me, they did some tweaking to the COVID testing, kind of, I think, balancing them out a little bit better. Fully vaccinated players now will test at least once every 7 days. It was every 14 days. And according to the NFL, as of last week, 93% of players on the training camp rosters were at least partially vaccinated at the time. Obviously, that'll change as teams are cutting players and getting down to the 53. But what do you think about them kind of balancing things out a little bit?
Yeah, I kind of like it, but I'm worried. And I was listening to, I want to say it was Dan Patrick this morning as I was setting up stuff in my classroom for testing this morning. And just the idea of hearing so many of the big names that still have not done any vaccination. And so, I'm tired of saying the vaccination, but, you think about it, the more you get involved and have your vaccine, you're able to do a lot more and do stuff and participate. I noticed even watching Baltimore's, they on NFL Network where they were doing their 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there kind of thing. How many players were off the field wearing their masks, not participating just because they weren't vaccinated? And it's just, how ready are those guys going to be? I think that's where my concern falls, is how ready are some of these big guys going to be?
People are ready. We didn't have preseason last year. Everyone was fine. New Orleans might have to move their season opener. They're supposed to host Green Bay. Obviously, the hurricane going on down there. It does sound like the Superdome was not damaged, but not a lot of electricity going on down there. And obviously, you don't want, like, everyone else is dealing with a lot of stuff, so let's just put on a football game in the middle of it. So, but obviously, we are a sports podcast and a sports radio show, so we're talking about the football side.
Right.
But obviously, in that area right now, football is secondary.
Yeah, and that's the thing with us, where Denise's family all live down in that area. We started watching stuff on Friday and Saturday, watching the storm move through. We're more worried about family, and that's what it was there on Sunday. I mean, yeah, I had my TV screens hooked up. I was watching golf on one and AFL on one, and
Yeah, I got yelled at on Facebook by your wife.
yeah, but the sound was on the Weather Channel, trying to follow, and that's just kind of how when it gets to tornado season, especially that tornado went exactly over where Denise is from, and so it hits home a little harder. But as far as New Orleans, I've heard a couple different locations.
Denise, it could be worse. He could have 2 TVs that are split into 4. Just so you know.
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, she kind of got frustrated, but she sat there. But we'll get to it in a little bit. She decided during the playoff holes of PGA in sudden death, she decided she's getting up and leaving the room. I'm like, really? You've watched the last so many holes, and now you're going to get up and not figure out who the winner was. I was like, what? Oh, that's just wrong. No, it's not wrong. Never.
All right, some movement going on. Obviously, we're getting all the cuts.
Mm-hmm.
A couple trades going on. Obviously, for me as a Jets fan, the big one was, we talked last week. The Jets lose Carl Lawson, who was their big free agent signing defensive end, which was devastating. They trade with Houston for Shaq Lawson. So hopefully they just give him the same number and they don't have to change jerseys for a year. They only give up a 6th-round pick. I think that's a good trade for both. Houston is not playing for anything. Shaq Lawson, I think, is under contract for 3 years. So that works out pretty good for the Jets. Gardner Minshew gets traded to Philadelphia. I know a lot of people were making a big deal out of that. I honestly think he's just there to be the scout team quarterback. Honestly, even when Jalen Hurts gets hurt, I don't think they're going to bring in Minshew. At least not yet. It's going to take them a while to learn the team.
Well, you know who their backup is, right?
I forget now.
Oh, it's easy. He was a Jet. He was a Raven. He's the number 2 guy right there.
I don't remember.
Joe Flacco.
Oh, that's right. Because he's been a starter this whole preseason. I totally forgot.
Yeah. So I mean,
and he's been playing pretty well.
Yeah. So I mean, do you leave Hurts there as the number 1?
No,
Flacco
Hurts
2,
would be
Minshew
their
3.
number 1. But Flacco is a good person to have there to learn underneath for sure. So, and then the big one today, and I didn't put it in the notes just because we didn't have time. But Cam Newton getting just straight up released, which was shocking. Right. Obviously, now you don't have a quarterback controversy, and you don't have to worry who's going to start. It's Mac Jones' team. Does Cam Newton get a job anywhere else?
Who's going to take him? The
Anyone
team
that needs a backup?
The team, but he's not going to want to play. Sit on the bench. He's going to want to play and be out there all the time. And that was the thing. I listening this morning to the guys on Peacock on the Dan Patrick show and listening to them, and they're thinking, okay, he's going to want to play. Mm-hmm. So the team that threw it out there for me, and I heard it, was Washington. No. Can you see him going to Washington? And I'm just throwing this out there.
So
throw him out there, reunited with Ron Rivera.
It makes sense. It
makes sense, but do you think because Cam is not vaccinated, do you think Ron says, if you want to come and play, you have to? I mean, there's a lot of scenarios.
Listen, no matter where he goes, he's going to have to learn to be a backup because he's not going to be able to start week 1 because you're not going to learn an offense right away. It
Right.
could work with Ron Rivera, as I'm sure the systems are slightly the same. But I like right off the bat, I was trying to figure out what team you could go to. Go to Minnesota. Kirk Cousins hasn't been that great
Right.
for the Vikings. But I if I have a young quarterback, I'm not taking him at all because that's just going to put pressure on my young
Right.
quarterback. So it's got to be some kind of a veteran that has shown signs of struggling. I would have thrown a Jared Goff in there if he hadn't been traded to Detroit. So I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see where he goes and if playing under Bill Belichick for a year has kind of matured Cam.
Mhm.
Or was he not maturing, and that is why New England ended up releasing them because they wanted Mac Jones to be the starter and Cam didn't want to be the backup there. I mean, who knows what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's going to be nuts. But I mean, it kind of leads into, and I know they're two totally different teams and looks and thoughts. But what about the same idea with what's going on in San Francisco? You got Jimmy G, who is buying into the idea with him and Trey Lance are going to coexist. It sounds like they're designing plays where both of them are on the field at the same time. Do you think that? I think that relationship is a lot better than the Mac Jones Cam Newton thing, because Big Newton has always been all about himself, and that's it.
Right. And then the last one here, which will lead us to our next segment. J.K. Dobbins out for the season, unfortunately, torn ACL. Should he have even been out there? Week 3 of the preseason. You have so many teams not even starting a single starter all preseason.
Right.
And Baltimore will get it. I don't think it's the case here. I flip you crap about it. About how Baltimore cares more about their preseason win streak than the safety of their team. But honestly, something like this could happen now. It could happen later. I'm sure this was going to be the only drive Dobbins was going to be in. They just wanted to work on something different, and just a freak thing happened.
Yeah, it was a little swing pass. It was, I think, 5 or 6 yards, and that was it. And just comes up, gets hit on the knee. I mean, it happened. It was really quite quick, and he kind of knew something was up. So it was tough to watch him come off the field like that.
It was rough, and it brings up a good point that Colin Cowherd had on a show this week when I was listening. He said this has been the most useless preseason he has ever seen. Do you agree with him?
I think it could be. I mean, we proved last year that we could do without. So how does the NFL do adjustments do you still let these guys scrimmage together?
I don't know. That's how Carl Lawson got hurt. It was a scrimmage. It wasn't a preseason game. It was during the team
with Washington, right?
With Green Bay.
But I mean, it's the same idea. Do we just let these guys run drills against their own squad, and so these guys aren't going 100%. So, but it can be done with nobody.
Listen, I've said on this show multiple times during the summer that I fully believe within the next 5 years we're going to an 18-game schedule with 2 bye weeks in the middle of it, and to stretch that out as far as they possibly can, and then still give players that extra the rest time. And at that point, like, I would expect them to have 2 preseason games for that, but I could see them just completely getting rid of it altogether. So many teams, how many quarterbacks are starting week 1 that we have not seen yet in the preseason? Well, now obviously some of the young quarterbacks, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones. It was nice for them to get out there and just kind of get a feel of the speed. But as much as I praised Zach Wilson on the 2 preseason games he had, he never once played a first-string defensive player.
Right.
So that was kind of Cowherd's point. It was, yes, Wilson looked good in his 2 starts. Trevor Lawrence looked fantastic in his last start. But they weren't against starters. So now they're giving us false hope, possibly, of how good they are because they're playing backups. So have we been able to take anything from this preseason?
I don't think so. But it's going to boil down to here in the next few years, and you saying that, when do they start changing even? I know the size of the pads have changed. When do they start requiring players, and where does the pads look different? I mean, do you start wearing pads down around your knee and not just on the front side of your knee to protect shots? I mean, do you put them? You notice the pads even today. I was looking at the guys that I coach and to see a few of the guys wearing big pads. You remember the big pads of the 70s, and all I think is Mean Joe Green with those big pads he used to wear years ago. To some of these guys that all they want is just the little tiny narrow ones, like what the receivers wear. I mean, when do you finally say, okay, you've got to do something to protect it? When do we protect them a little
honestly,
more? You know?
I'm not a football player by any means, but I wouldn't think wearing extra pads around your knees would have prevented a J.K. Dobbins
No,
injury.
not
That's
the
just
way
kind of the way the angle he gets hit. I don't think padding had anything to do with it. So it'll be interesting. I know the CBAs and stuff are coming up, and then they're going to have to change some stuff anyway.
Well, it's the same with even high school stuff, you know, where we have to, and junior high stuff, we have to take our training classes every year before coaching and all that. And they're starting to change the rules a little bit. And now they're expanding, you know, no chop block even outside the tackle box. They could be out 5 yards down the field even now at the numbers, and they're watching all that. So, you know, WIA is really making that change too. And I'm wondering how much longer till, you know, NFL does the same thing and NCAA.
All right, let's get into our division breakdowns. We're going to start with the AFC West. We're going to change a little bit. We're going to bring in our games that we've been able to play on the show, the Believe It or Nots and the Would You Rathers, which, by the way, your Would You Rathers for this first one is for the wrong conference.
Did I do the wrong conference?
You did the wrong conference.
Oh, no, I didn't. I did. Oh, my God.
Just so you know. But let's start with the AFC West, and we're going to do Randy's Believe It or Not for the West. Believe it or not, Justin Herbert will put up even better numbers in his sophomore campaign. So just to give you an idea, in his rookie year, he threw for 4,336 yards. He had 31 touchdowns and 10 interceptions with a 66.6% completion percentage. Does Herbert do better than that this year?
I think he can be the future. I really do. Just to watch him play and how he flowed around the ball, I think he could easily be somebody almost, and the comparison I throw out here might be a little off, but an Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I think he stays that long at San Diego. I want to say San Diego, at LA, but right. I think he could be that face that stays there for a long time.
I'm going to say he does better for two reasons. I'm with you. I think he's a fantastic talent. I think he is another one of the future of the sports. We have so many young quarterbacks that look so good that I think like the future of the quarterback position over the next 10 years might be the best we've ever seen all time as far as the depth of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to say he goes over for the fact that he's going to play, if he stays healthy, he's going to play 2 more games this year because he did not play week 1 and then only played week 2 because the nurse poked Tyrod Taylor in the lung and took him out. But then obviously we have that extra week just as the NFL goes to 17 games this year. So I think yardage number wise will go up, touchdowns numbers will go up. He's so careful with the ball. I could see him having only 10 interceptions even with the extra 2 games. I like Justin Herbert.
I like what he is. I like what he does. Here's the thing. If Kansas City's not in that division, LA wins that hands down. I think as long as Casey's not there.
Right. All right. Give me your would you rather.
All right. Would you rather build your defense around Joey Bosa or Von Miller?
How old is Von Miller these days? There's so many players that we've been talking about for so long. You're like, oh, he's got to be like 35, and you look and he's 29.
Yeah.
And Von Miller is 32. So right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
I would take Joey Bosa just because he's younger.
Right.
Like no knock on Von Miller, first ballot Hall of Famer for sure. I just only think you've got a couple more years left of Von.
Right.
So I would say Joey Bosa. Who would you say?
I like Joey Bosa, but I like the veteran leadership that Von Miller brings. I'm just hoping that, he can keep the guys around him really into it. Bradley Chubb is going to be a great fit in that defense. And to have Justin Simmons on the backside, I mean, it's just going to make him look a lot better.
Right.
I mean, I really think that, and Patrick Surtain. I mean, what else can Denver do? I mean, I think Denver's got a very decent defense.
If you're asking me which defense is better, I'm saying Denver.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
And I think that they're going to build around him. And I think Vaughn is just that role model that I'd want to build around.
I can't disagree there. All right, give me your order in the AFC West.
So for me, and like I said, if Kansas City was not in this division, it'd be the Chargers. So for me, it's Kansas City 1, the Chargers 2. And I was back and forth flipping a coin, because I do kind of like the Raiders a little bit. I think the only reason I put Denver below them, Denver I know has the better defense. They got to figure out something for offensively for Denver, for them to finally be a contender. I don't think Teddy Bridgewater is the answer. Melvin Gordon is he's that one that you just said. You got to think about, okay, how old is Melvin Gordon now? I think he's probably 32, 33 too.
They got a young run back there as well. I'm gonna just flip those two. I'm taking Kansas City first. I think everyone will. Take the Chargers second. I'm going to have Denver third for that defense. I also think Jerry Jeudy is going to have a breakout season with Teddy Bridgewater, kind of that check down quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater is never a quarterback that I feel like is going to win you a Super Bowl. But on a team like Denver, where you are very defensive heavy, and your job on offense is just don't screw up. I think Teddy Bridgewater is the perfect fit. Kind of like your quarterback is 2001, Trent Dilfer, where the Ravens defense was so good they just told Trent, just don't turn it over, and we'll win the Super Bowl, and that worked. I'm not saying Denver is going to at this point, but I think Bridgewater fits perfectly with the way they have built their team, and a player like Jerry Jeudy who can do those inside routes, I think will do great for them. And then I have the Raiders fourth. I don't see Gruden's vision anymore. I never did, but it's been long enough, and it's just not working.
And I think that was the tough thing for me. And we opened the show and we talked about our do's and don'ts for fantasy. It was so hard for me, and that's the problem. Is I went in there closed-minded, thinking, okay, remembering who they had at quarterback and what they were going to do. That I shied away from Jeudy. I shied away from Sutton because of the idea. Okay. Yeah, Noah Fant was still good. You know, he was a great check down for Drew Lock, but I just totally turned my vision where I didn't think there was anything there that's going to produce. I mean, that's the idea to think about it. Is it enough to produce the touchdowns, enough points to get wins in a division that's going to be run all over by Kansas City?
Right.
Can Kansas City? Here's a question: can Kansas City run that division and go 6-0 in there?
I think so. They're a very, very good team. I'm not going to bet against them. That's for sure. All right, let's move to your AFC North. And give me your would you rather first.
Man, I went coaches.
Okay.
And just because I went coaches, I wanted to see. Again, it would be, who would you want to build around? I mean, do you want to build around John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin, who have been in that division for a long time, have the rivalry feeling, or do you go new blood with Kevin Stefanski?
Give me Stefanski. I want the new blood. I want the guy that's going to shake the apple cart. And I think that's what he's done in the AFC.
Oh, yeah.
He's done things completely different than Tomlin and Harbaugh. I still believe that Tomlin has been there too long. Right? He's a fantastic coach, but he just needs to go coach somewhere else because it has gotten stale there in Pittsburgh. And let's be honest, you're a Ravens fan. John Harbaugh would be somewhere else or not coaching at all or coaching with his brother at Michigan if Lamar Jackson didn't show up. He's only there because of Lamar Jackson.
I think that was the big thing. He had to produce that first year with Lamar. If he didn't produce, he was probably gone because I could tell you twice that he was on the hot seat right after the season. And so, I mean, 100%. I would say John, but I kind of like the idea of you saying, light a fire under these kids, let them play a little bit different. I mean, it's a different mindset with Kevin Stefanski.
To be fair to John Harbaugh, with Lamar Jackson, he has completely changed that offense around him and not made Lamar try to be a pocket passer. So I will give him credit.
And I think that a lot of that boils back down to Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator. I mean, Greg, old school. I mean, he's been around the game for 30 plus years, and for him to step back and say, "Okay, I have this guy. I've got to figure out how to use them in the best way." And now I guarantee you, I'm not going to duck on Gus Edwards because he will be the feature back
you
now.
will here in a second.
I think Lamar is going to get a lot more attempts. I mean, they'll redesign the playbook even week one.
All right, so here you go. This is my believe it or not.
Okay.
Nice segue, sir. Lamar Jackson will have more rushing touchdowns than Gus Edwards this year.
Listen, the name that kept coming up today and that I heard, and it was over many platforms, even on ESPN. Why hasn't Lamar Jackson or the Baltimore Ravens, why haven't the Ravens went out and signed Todd Gurley? I mean, Todd is 33 years old. He's banged up, he's taken some lickings, but I think they just believe in Gus Edwards so much. But I believe there's going to be, we get down to the goal line, there's going to be a lot of misdirection, and Lamar Jackson's going to roll out and sneak it in.
You think
so
that they're not going after Todd Gurley because they were hoping Mark Ingram got cut?
No, I don't think so. I don't
want to
think.
bring him back?
No, I don't think he will come back because Mark, even at the end of the year, he said, "I want to be the featured guy. I want to be the guy." And JK was just proving everybody wrong. And I think
JK can't get it in the way this year.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing that's going to hurt is JK had developed himself into that runner that Baltimore was going to want, and it's going to be tough. I mean, Edwards is no ground and pound guy like Jamal Anderson was when he played, or anything like that, or even some of these running backs, Todd Gurley. It'll be interesting to see because everybody cut down to their 53 roster as of 1:00 today, and it'll be interesting to see what the next 2 days bring. And I think that's the biggest is, we see the Cam move. We've seen now JK going down. It's going to take a couple of days for these OCs and head coaches to look and make a change. And I think it'll happen, but who they bring in, I don't know.
You didn't answer the question.
I said Lamar. I think Lamar. I think Lamar will get more. They'll roll him out. Like I said, they'll roll him out. Yeah, they'll roll him out, I think, and try to do a little misdirection. He's good for his 20 and 30-yard sprints, but I think they finally do a little bit more bootleg design for him.
By the way, I mean, obviously you're not in my fantasy league anymore this year.
Right.
What round did you draft Lamar Jackson in your league this year?
How did you know I took him? I didn't tell you.
Doof and I were talking through this.
Oh, come on. Doof, really?
We brought you up a lot on Sunday because Lamar Jackson kept falling, and we're like, he would have been gone already by now if Robert was here. What round?
So listen, I had
answer the question.
I'm getting there. I had the number 2 pick. And I was either going Christian McCaffrey, but Tim took McCaffrey. Yeah. So I was left with Cook, and I thought, okay, I'm going Derrick Henry. So I went Henry.
Okay.
So wraps back around.
First round, so
wraps around, and CEH was sitting there. And I was like, okay, I'm taking CEH. And then Tim took, I forget who it was, and Lamar was sitting there. And I'm like, I know Lamar is going to get the runs. So I took him.
Lamar in the 3rd round.
I took Lamar in the 3rd round.
All right, give me your order.
Oh, I am just a little bit of a homer. Listen, Pittsburgh, it's going to be Big Ben send off. So I am kind of glad.
You're going to have them in last?
I have them in last. I think they're going to fall down. Listen, Joe Burrows was playing so well before he got hurt. I like what Cincinnati was doing around Joe Burrows. I'm going to put him 3rd. Kevin Stefanski and Baker Mayfield, I think that's going to be number 2. And yes, I am a homer. I am taking Baltimore, even though I think it's going to be Baltimore, Cleveland down to the very end again. And one of them will have the wild card. So
Yeah, I think you're right there. I'm going to take Cincinnati last. I'll say Pittsburgh gets third. I do think it's a down year for Pittsburgh. I know Big Ben is looking healthier this year.
Yeah, because they
I
give
don't-
him a veteran day off.
I definitely do not buy into the fact that offensive line is magically better this year. So they're my third team. I'm going to take Baltimore second and Cleveland first. It's going to be within a game. I'm with you. We'll get into our playoff teams next week, but I think both of them are going to be listed.
You gonna let me
when we
draft?
get there.
You gonna let me draft Baltimore this year?
On our thing next week?
Yeah,
I was like,
saying,
you're not
you
in
think
our
about
league. I have another fantasy draft on Sunday. I'm like, you're not in that league. Well, why does that matter? But no, for next week, it's a good chance that you will take them before I think about taking them. How about that?
Probably.
All right, let's get into the AFC South. And believe it or not, for this division, Carson Wentz will play more games than Deshaun Watson this season, and Watson will not be traded during the year.
Well, that's a no-brainer. I think it is for me. Deshaun probably will play maybe a couple games, but I don't think Carson will play more games, definitely. And I think Houston just holds on to Watson. So
You think they let him play a couple? He's either playing every game or 0 games.
do you think he's going to give 100%, knowing if he's stuck there? I don't think he gives 100%.
Yes, because now it's a straight up audition. He knows he wants out. The team now wants him out. So he wants to show he can carry a team if he's allowed to play.
Yeah,
If
that's the
Houston
big thing.
allows him on the field, I think he's going to try to do everything he can to make sure Houston doesn't end up with the number 1 pick before he leaves. So that's why I thought that question was interesting, because Deshaun Watson could be a 0 or he could be 17 as far as games played this year. Carson Wentz looked like he was going to miss a few weeks. Now it looks like he might be ready for week 1, but then he's on the COVID close contact list this week. So who knows what that's going to do there. I'm going to be with you. I'm going to say Carson Wentz as well, because I really don't think Deshaun's going to play at all this year. But it's just weird that we're still kind of in limbo on that.
So I want to know, and Eric Watkins points out here a second ago, they're already planning for Watson to be a healthy scratch. I haven't heard that. I haven't seen that. I haven't.
I've heard
where
It's
is
just-
this coming?
It's one of those what Baltimore should have done with Ray Rice before that video came out, of just we don't want to deal with the situation right now, and so we're just going to just keep him off the team. And it makes sense because I think Houston wants him gone. I don't think anyone's going to trade for him during the season. But the only thing I'll disagree with, you're not going to go anywhere as Houston this year. And maybe that's why you keep him a healthy scratch, because he could win you a couple games and mess up your first round pick.
Right.
But you want to audition him and show him he's still really, really good, guys. So when March comes back around, you can still get a decent haul. They screwed up by not trading him in February when every team wanted him,
Right.
because they would have got a massive haul for him before all the allegations came out. But I think sitting him for the whole year, you're not going to be able to get much, I don't think, next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's always it's a game of what ifs. What if this would have happened then, and we did do that? I mean that's life. I mean, what if? So
All right, I like your would you rather. Let's do it.
I do like my would you rather a rookie, and we got to talk about this. Would you rather build around Trevor Lawrence, who just comes in from playing with Clemson, with Dabo, or would you want to build around the guy that just rushed for 2,000 yards and know that he is going to get his touches? And why I went this way, and I had a kid today, a couple days ago, we were talking about draft stuff, and a lot of the kids that I teach are getting into fantasy football, and they're like, Mr. Hagan, do you play fantasy football? And I said, yeah, I dabble in it. They know that I do a radio show, and I do the, and he's like, Derrick Henry's not going to get all of his touches this year because Julio's going to be there. No, yes, Julio's going to be there, but I guaranteed it. I told him, I said,
Julio will be there for 10 games.
right, but I told him, I said, Derrick Henry will get 1,800 yards at least. And they looked at
game, yeah.
And they looked at me. It's like, really? You think that? I'm like, yeah. I mean, the extra game, but that's my question to you. Would you rather build against a guy's arm from Clemson that looked really good, as a college player, or that true guy that just Tested over 20,
This
almost
is
2,100 yards.
absolutely no doubter. And again, it is no knock to the other player, but give me Trevor Lawrence every single day of the week. You build around a quarterback in the NFL these days, not about a running back. That's why a lot of running backs are so upset because the NFL sees them as replaceable.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be able to replace Derrick Henry with another Derrick Henry type, but you can replace a Derrick Henry with two running backs that'll give number. And obviously, they're not going to be able to bulldoze their way through the line, but they'll do it in their own way. Trevor Lawrence could be that generational talent.
Mm-hmm.
We have no idea. We talked about that already with the preseason stuff. We haven't seen him play against a tough defense yet. Same with any of these other rookie quarterbacks. But everything we've seen, you can build around him. And Derrick Henry's 27.
Right.
The rule of thumb is once a running back hits 30, I mean, local fans will remember Sean Alexander,
Mm-hmm.
they're done. And Derrick Henry has got a lot of miles on those tires and carrying Tennessee over the last few years. So give me 17 years of Trevor Lawrence over 3 years of Derrick Henry.
All right.
All right, let's get into our rankings. And I'm going to give Houston still last, whether Watson plays or not. I know a lot of people are buying way into Jacksonville, and I'm glad Eric popped in for this division at the perfect time because I want to get his thoughts as well. I like Trevor Lawrence, of course. I wanted him to go to the Jets. I was devastated when the Jets won a game and messed that all up. But the team around him is still not good. The receiving corps is good. Like I'm a big fan of Shenault, and Chark is good. And having Marvin Jones kind of being that veteran leadership, you saw Lawrence really lean on him in the preseason when he was healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I think his receiving core is pretty good. But his offensive line is still bad. The defense isn't that great. So I'm going to have Jacksonville still in a very far distant third place.
What's funny is you and I had Jacksonville, 3 years ago as our sleeper team. I mean, you and I were
bought into
on
Jacksonville so many times. I bought into Blake Bortles so bad, and he was terrible. Though he did win me a fantasy championship because Jacksonville would always go down by 28 because he'd throw 3 interceptions and then come back and throw 3 touchdowns to Allen Robinson, and I had them both, and it was great. My second team is kind of a surprise. I'm still in on Wentz, especially with the news that he might play week 1. So I'm going to have Tennessee second. I've just bought into the Colts and how good that defense is, and the running game is really good. You just need a quarterback there not to screw things up. And I like Carson Wentz. I think he's a good talent. I think he kind of got the shaft in Philadelphia Carson Wentz was terrible. Nick Foles was better than him. He was on an MVP pace that year. And then I think it kind of got in his head after Nick Foles was still able to take them to the Super Bowl and he was trying too hard. So I like Wentz. I like the Colts. And if he can stay healthy, give me Indy number 1. What do you got?
Well, I'm going to do the same thing with you for the bottom 2. I mean, it's pretty well Houston's at the bottom. You and I have been on Jacksonville for a few years, but, they just kind of seem like they're rebuilding again. The only reason I'm going Tannehill and Derrick Henry 1 over Indianapolis is the injury to Carson Wentz, because Carson, they were talking, it could be 8 to 12 weeks, and he's already making to where he's going to play week 1. They think, that's still roughly 2 weeks away, but I don't
chance of re-injury.
Right.
Sure.
And if he gets out there and moves in that first week and it is not what it should be, who do you rely on? You got Jonathan Taylor in the back, Marlon Mack, decent running backs there. But you got Jacob Eason. Jacob Eason is not really.
If Wentz doesn't start a lot of the season, then my prediction will go down the toilet for sure. All right, but get through this real quick because we're running late. We got a lot to talk about.
All right, so that's mine: Tennessee, Indianapolis, Jacksonville, and Houston.
And Eric did say he was worried in the first 2 preseason games, but now less so. Which stop buying into. I'm trying to. I get it as a fan.
Mm-hmm.
As a Jets fan, I'm trying to keep my hopes lower. With Zach Wilson, I'm still saying 5-6 wins for the Jets. We'll get to them in a second. But he's now saying 7-10, which is way too high. Way too high for Jacksonville. All right, AFC East. Believe it or not, and I hate saying it, as Harry, who I did the kickoff with, is a huge Bills fan, and I don't want to give him credit or say anything nice about the Buffalo Bills, but believe it or not, Josh Allen will win the NFL MVP this season.
And I hate saying this, as long as Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson still puts up huge numbers, he'll never get past 3.
But here's the thing. I don't think Buffalo runs nearly at all this year. I think they're going to put it all on Josh Allen offensively. You saw that a little bit. Again, it's preseason. It's not going to mean anything. But they were throwing it all over the place. I think this division is all Buffalo.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
So
too.
they're going to end up being like 14-3 and looking very good and battling Kansas City for that 1 seed. And I think Josh Allen's going to put up some ridiculous numbers.
Right. Yeah, I think that would jump into my would you rather. He's getting ready to start his 4th year with Buffalo. He was a 2018 draft pick for Buffalo. And now you look at the rest of that quarterback class in the AFC East. You've got Mac Jones now in New England. You got Tua. Tua's considered sophomore year, pretty much. Yeah. And then your man, Zach Wilson.
Yeah. Josh Allen is all of a sudden the veteran of the AFC.
Yeah, at what, 25, 26 years old.
Gary and I were talking about it today. He's 25.
He has to be the guy you base everything on in that entire division.
And I don't buy Zach Moss and is Singletary still in Buffalo. I don't buy that running crew at all. All right, give me your would you rather.
That was my would you rather. Would you take him over the field? Josh Allen over the field.
In the AFC East?
Yes, AFC.
Yes. This is Buffalo's division to lose.
Yeah, so you look at that. You've got Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, Matt Bredia, and Tywan Jones as the running backs for Bills.
All right, let's get into our rankings. As a Jets fan, Jets are 4th. It's not close. I'm predicting 5 to 6 wins for my Jets. Yes, Zach Wilson looked good in his 2 preseason games, but it's preseason against second teamers. I like the new feel to the team with Coach Saleh, and I think they're going in the right direction. But I think it's going to take a year.
Right.
We saw that with Miami. Miami has a great head coach. He's changed the system in Miami, but there was a lot of bumps that first year. Miami, I actually am going to take 3rd in this division, and I was really close to switching it back after this news with Mac Jones, but maybe Belichick is just seeing something there. I just don't buy into Tua. I think Miami has a very good team, could still battle for a playoff spot. I can't buy into Tua at all. And hopefully, we'll see if he proves me wrong. I have New England 2nd. I just think even last year when things went completely wrong, they finished, 7-9? Mm-hmm. They're not going to go away. That defense is going to be better. So give me them 2nd. But I think Buffalo wins this division by 3 or 4 games.
No, easy. I'm in the exact same. Just as much as I like Tua, I think the injury in college has really messed with what he could do in the NFL. And honestly, and I'm not, because he was a great player in Alabama. Trust me, I loved watching him play for the Crimson Tide, but I think the sophomore slump just keeps going. I don't think I don't think his teammates get behind him 100%. So I'm going to put Miami 4. I have your New York Jets 3,
You're
even
insane.
though
I love it. I hope you're right.
I really hope so, because I really want to, like I said, I've said it since February. I really want to see what Robert Saleh can do for that team. Zach Wilson. Do I think they hit 500? Probably not. Probably not.
I'll do a cartwheel on the show if they finish above 500.
I'm going to write that down. Everybody heard that.
I don't care. I'll be so happy. It wouldn't even be like, oh, you said you're going to do it. I wouldn't be able to help myself.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to keep New England 2nd, and even with the release of Cam Newton today, I even said early Cam might play 2 games this year, and then before Mac Jones took over. Before Mac Jones took over, and now, and so I think I was close. But you're 100%. I could easily see Buffalo running away with this division. Could easily go 6-0 against the division. Maybe the Patriots have a hiccup and get a win against Buffalo at home at Foxborough, just because some of those people that didn't play last year for COVID are playing this year. It'll be interesting to see how that team adapts with those new, well, I shouldn't say new players, but those players that took the year off.
Right. All right. Let's do a quick baseball scoreboard because, again, we had two great guests here in the first hour. We're going to talk a lot about it, but just
3 great guests.
Oh, true. Excuse me. I was doing 2 great guest segments.
There you go.
So, yes, 3 great guests. So we didn't talk a lot of baseball, but so here's your quick scoreboard. Top of the 9th, the Phillies taking it to the Nationals 12-5. They have the bases loaded. Oh, they just finished. They got out of the inning finally. But 12-5, Phillies over the Nationals going to the bottom of the 9th inning there. Rangers are beating the Rockies 4-3 in the bottom of the 7th. Indians all over the Royals 7-0 through 8. Cubs beating the Twins 2-1 in the bottom of the 7th. White Sox 4, Pirates 2 in the 8th. Scoreless in Arizona between the Padres and the Diamondbacks in the 4th inning. Brewers all over the Giants. That was a big series that I was going to talk about. We just didn't have time. Brewers 5, Giants nothing in the 4th. Astros and Mariners are scoreless in the 2nd inning, but Astros have 2 on with 1 out. Top of the 3rd, Braves and Dodgers are scoreless, and the Yankees have a 1-0 lead on the Angels in the bottom of the 4th, but the Angels have 2 on, nobody out over there in LA. And already final, the Mets beat the Marlins 6-5. Orioles with a win, which is a shocking turn of event. They win that one 4-2 over the Blue Jays. Athletics beat the Tigers 9-3. The Rays, who just refuse to lose, they're driving me nuts. They beat Boston, which I guess helps the Yankees as far as wild card goes, but I was hoping for division. I just don't see it anymore. Rays win that one 8-5, and the Mets beat the Marlins 3-1. The Cardinals and the Reds were postponed. All right, give me some shock news.
So the Shock ended up their year. They started out really good, jumped out to the lead 6-0, and just could not fight against Frisco Fighters. They go down 44-33. Special team miscues. They missed 3 field goals. It just was crazy to think about. Even though the Shock outgained the Fighters 251 yards to 187. Charles McCollum and Dante Sapp Lynch were back in the lineup after both missing some substantial time. McCollum does throw for 199 yards, 12 and 2 TD passes, and does become the IFL all-time passing leader with over 12,900 yards. And he does have 2 career IFL MVPs. Is McCollum could he be the best IF player of all times? I think yes.
I don't follow the IFL, so I'll say yes as well because he broke records. All right, let's get into some Aussie rules. We had in the first week of the finals, GWS eliminated Sydney in a crazy game, 74-73. That game was so much fun to watch.
It was crazy to watch.
Western eliminates Essendon 85-36, and that was the Western Bulldogs we were used to watching at the beginning of the season. Eric was very, very happy during that game. In the 2 non-elimination games, Port Adelaide moved to the prelim final. They'll get the bye week as they beat your Geelong Cats 86-43, and that wasn't even a good showing by your Cats.
No offense. They just came out extremely flat again. That's like 3 weeks in a row. They've just come out flat in the first half. You know, they try to make a push in the third, and just they're too far behind.
And then Melbourne will join them in the prelim finals. They beat Brisbane 93-60. So we are down to 6 teams now in the AFL finals. Your semifinals next week, you have Brisbane versus Western, with the winner taking on Port Adelaide in the prelim finals. They have weird names for their playoff rounds. And then Geelong will take on GWS, and the winner will take on Melbourne. So give me predictions on these 2 games.
I just like what Western's going to do. So give me Western, and then Geelong's got to pull it out against GWS, so I got to take my team. But I tell you what, they've got to come out hot. Geelong has to come out hot. And if you have Fox 2, set your DVR to record it. Watch it. It is
so early.
They're like way early in the morning our time. But record them, watch them. Oh my God! Like you said, the GWS Sydney game was probably the best, if not the best game of the entire. The entire 23 weeks of this season. So,
yeah, but this week it is brutal to be able to watch live.
Right.
I've been lucky enough to be working at the casino on a Friday or Saturday night, and those 11 o'clock games I've been able to watch there. But your games this week, Friday at 2:50 a.m. is the Geelong Cats and the GWS Giants. So watch it later that day. And same thing, Saturday at 2:20 a.m. will be the Brisbane Lions and the Western Bulldogs. So it's a DVR and watch later.
Well, I don't think I'm going to be able to watch them until after Saturday's game, volleyball up here and everything. So
yeah, and Eric does mention that the grand final may also be relatively early, since it's in Perth and there's a bye week beforehand. The grand final, which is obviously the final, because again the names are a little weird for Aussie rules. That game has always been easy enough to watch because it's during the day. It's kind of like the Super Bowl where they do it at like 3 p.m. I don't know the exact time in Australia time, but it's like 8 o'clock for us, and that's a perfect time to be able to watch it. But unfortunately, with it moving location and things changing with all the COVID stuff, it could be a little weird this year. So we will keep an eye on that. You watched some golf, and you made your wife watch some golf.
Oh my God.
It did sound very crazy, though.
If you did not watch the BMW Championship in Owen Mills, Maryland, Baltimore area, you missed out on probably the best golf tournament of the entire year. Bryson DeChambeau and Patrick Cantlay both shoot 27 under. Yes, I said 27 under for the championship, and it was just crazy. Both of them bogeyed 17 in regulation, a par 3, and then Cantlay birdies to force the playoff there. Here's the craziest numbers out of all of it. You know, Cantlay had 31 birdies, 1 eagle in regulation in all 72 holes. DeChambeau has 27 birdies, 4 eagles in the same 72 holes. This is just numbers that are crazy to throw up for a 27 under in that one. So if you did not watch it, you need to go back and watch the highlights. Both men played extremely well. They parred the first 5 holes, and then Cantlay does sink a 12-foot birdie. But DeChambeau just could not hit any of the holes. He could not. He burned the edge so many times. He could have easily walked away with this, and it should have been it. The big conversation coming out of this has been they were put on the clock again on Sunday on hole 14, and Cantlay was way on the left side, and he was still walking. He was walking up towards as DeChambeau was getting ready to hit, and you hear DeChambeau holler over at him and say, "Patrick, stop walking." And it came into the whole thing again of, you know, can anybody play with Bryson DeChambeau? I mean, Patrick doesn't say much anything in any of his thing, but you could tell the tense, like 15, 16, 17, 18, and then even the playoffs. So it was one of the best tournaments of the season. 7 players had a score of 20 under or better, and then Cantlay is the only player to have 3 wins this year, so it's crazy. And so going into the Tour Championship down in Atlanta, Cantlay will start the tournament on Thursday 10 under. He'll have a 2-stroke lead over Tony Finau at 8. DeChambeau will be 3rd, have a 7 under score. John Rahm 6, and Cameron Smith at 5, and then the rest of the field staggers. So,
do you like that setup?
You know, I'm not sure.
I know John Rahm is complaining that it's not enough.
Yeah, and it's going to be weird. You know, the way Cantlay played, you know, you could name any of those guys right there that are in the top 10 that I have listed here, and you could easily put any of them. And you could even throw in Louis Oosthuizen, who is sitting in, I think he ends up like 12th or 13th. And so he gets a 3 under start. So is it enough? I don't know. I mean, it'll be, because I've never watched the championship play out this way. So it'll be interesting to see it. So who do you got?
I give you Patrick Cantlay. You're coming off the big win. Most wins on the tour this year. Has a bit of a head start. So give me him.
Yeah, I mean, you could go anywhere. Like I said, Louis Oosthuizen has been one of the most consistent guy in that stretch run there for a while. You could say Justin Thomas, Harris English, but I'm gonna take the Spaniard. Give me John Rahm.
All right, let's move on. By the way, Ryder Cup is coming up soon, end of September. I love the Ryder Cup. It's so fun. NASCAR news, they finished their regular season at the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona. Ryan Blaney won what was expected to be a wreck fest at the end. of that race. You sent me a message like, "Oh, they're wrecking at the end." I was like, I knew that 10 minutes ago. Once they had that wreck that Chase Elliott definitely caused, and it was very disappointing that he was over blocking. And they were talking about how like 7 of the top 10 were drivers that had to win that race to make the playoffs.
Right.
Like, there's no way that we're getting 2 clean laps out of this.
It-
and I was surprised we got 1.
So it was funny, like I said, there on Saturday, and you got the complaint from the wife, but we had Weather Channel in the top right, we had NASCAR on the bottom, and then golf and the AFL on one, and then I switched it to Little League. But she was like, "Oh, look at all the sparks!" I mean, you could see the guys; they were just going 90 miles an hour, sparks flying everywhere, and it's just.
But I've said it before, and I know I keep upsetting your parents. NASCAR wants entertainment over competition. Like, There was nothing fair about ending your regular season at Daytona where this was going to happen.
And they
But
all race it out.
It got the drama and it got the views, and you can't blame them there. Your
Right.
playoff drivers, there's so many of them. It's almost half the field. So Kyle Larson will be your points leader. He won the regular season points. You have Ryan Blaney, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Christopher Bell, Michael McDowell, who won the Daytona 500, Eric Almirola, Tyler Reddick, and Kevin Harvick. It was interesting to me that only Reddick and Harvick made it in the points. You had 14 different winners this year that qualified them to make the playoffs. So again, it's like whose line is it anymore with NASCAR? Right. The points don't matter. Just win a race.
Well, listen, I messed up this year, and I told Denise the same thing. I took Bubba Watson. I really thought, I thought it was going to be good when he was going to make it in there.
If the point system was a little different, it's just because he didn't win a race.
Yeah, and I think that's 100%. He didn't win anything.
All right, your first 3 races in the playoffs are Darlington, which is Sunday at 3 p.m., and then Richmond and Bristol, which Bristol being the first elimination race is kind of like the Roval being elimination races. It's such a wild card and could be interesting. So 4 drivers get eliminated after Bristol. Give me the 4 drivers you see being eliminated.
After Bristol, I think Michael McDowell is probably one of those that get eliminated. Kevin Harvick.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I think Kevin Harvick. I think I hate to say it, but I think Alex Bowman might be one. I don't think he's going to be the one. I think it's Kyle Larson, Martin Truex, and it's their races to lose.
So you said Harvick, you said McDowell, you said
Bowman.
I need one more.
Oh man, look at that list. Let's throw in Kurt Busch. I think he wrecks. I think he wrecks and he doesn't make it.
All right, we will keep you up to date there. All right, now let's get into this week in sports history.
All right, this week in sports history for the week of August 25th through August 31st, 1955, Sandy Koufax fans 14 Cincinnati Reds. Both teams combined for a total 23 strikeouts. 1982, Ricky Henderson steals his 119th base and breaks Lou Brock's mark. He finishes his season with 130 steals. You don't get these guys stealing any bases like that anymore. He ends up is second all time with that. Number 1 is Hugh Nickel, a name I did not recognize. That played for the Cincinnati Reds.
Right, give me 2 more.
Also, 1990, I have to do it.
Yes.
Ken Griffey and Ken Griffey Jr. become the first father-son to play on the same team. And they both have back-to-back singles in the first inning in that game. And
I remember 2018.
So I don't know. Do I do 2018? I'm going to go 94 through 96. It was the amateur championships of Tiger Woods winning all 3 of those, and it was just crazy. And yes, I'm going to throw out 2018. A gamer at Madden NFL 19 tournament in Jacksonville, Florida, loses and then turns to shoot 2 people and wound 9 in a championship.
I've seen that footage.
It was nasty.
It's very uncomfortable and just not okay.
All right, so I wanted to go golf, but then I switched because I knew the answer was going to be a little bit harder.
For those just joining us, as this is the first time we're back on KLCZ here this school year, Robert comes up with a trivia question and tries to stump me, and he has about an 87% success rate. So go right ahead.
I think I'm pretty good. So we talked about here just a minute ago that Sandy Koufax fans 14 Reds and combined for a total of 23 between both teams. Most key Ks by both teams in a 9-inning game. What is the record for the I'm not going to let you pick the teams. What is the most record strikeouts
It's
by
got to
both
be
teams?
in a game that one of the pitchers struck out 20. I would think. So I'm thinking of a Kerry Woods game, a Roger Clemens game. Trying to remember who the Cubs played that day. And there was a recent one that I'm blanking now, though, where a guy got at least near 20. I'm going to say it was like a DeGrom game. Give me like the Mets and the Marlins.
I think you're very close. It is a 35 game, 35 strikeouts. And I got to remember who the pitchers were. I have to look it up. But it was the Washington Nationals taking on the New York Mets.
Yeah, it had to be.
And October 3rd, 2015, the Nationals had 18 strikeouts. The New York Mets had 17. And I don't remember who the pitchers were. I didn't. That's on another sheet of paper sitting at my desk at home. But there was 35 combined strikeouts in that one. That is the NL lead in that one, and MLB. The other one, the AL, is 31. That's the Texas Rangers and the Seattle Mariners.
We'll have to try to get that to you. Maybe I'll have Robert post a video or something on that. But yes, next week, Lewiston and Clarkston game. We're going to try to have some fun. We're hoping to get both athletic directors for both Lewiston and Clarkston to end the show. We're going to hope to get another guest or two just to talk about the history of the Lewiston Clarkston game, since we weren't able to have it last year. So it'll be the first time that Robert and I have been able to do that here on the show. We hope to do the same thing when Golden Throne comes around later on in the year. Obviously, we're going to still try to get a guest from one of the LCSC sports in there as well. And we'll be able to talk about how it was me doing play-by-play for the volleyball, you doing PA on Saturday. We'll be able to talk about Clarkson Bantams having their game, Lewiston having their game as well. Lots to talk about next week. I am so glad we were back in studio, being able to be face-to-face, not having to worry about kids running in. Me not having the Yankee game over here, like making me lose complete control.
Yeah, but we should have Tuesday football back, right? We should have a Tuesday football game starting next week.
Yeah, we'll start having some
with the division
games.
Yeah,
the
MAC games. Yeah.
But again, if this is the first time that you have listened to us, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Go follow us on the R&R Sports Report Facebook and YouTube pages. We will be back here next Tuesday at 6 p.m. But for now, that's Robert. I'm Randy, and we are